Welcome to My Modern Myth. I'm your host, Eric Beach, and I'm here with another Rolling Reflections edition. I have rolled and reflected, and now I want to bring that to you. Before we talk about failure and this idea of laughing at it and accepting it and moving forward through it, a little housekeeping. This channel is going to combine Rolling Reflections and My Modern Myth. They are one and the same. It's just this is going to be an episodic series on this channel that is life lessons from Jiu Jitsu. It won't be necessarily a teaching tool for learning Jiu Jitsu, but how to take your journey in fitness. I use Jiu Jitsu to use it as a way to enhance our life, to continue to grow, because it's My Modern Myth is mind, body, story. So this is the body portion and how the body can help unlock the mind. So I'm going to be putting up about 8 episodes that I have on the other channel, so they're all consolidated here. So you can skip those ones, you can re-listen to them, or you can hear them for the first time, depending on if you've been following me on my other channel. So just be aware that there's going to be new episodes mixed in with some of the old ones, just to reconsolidate my efforts and refocus them here. If it's on YouTube, nothing's going to change. It's just going to keep going forward with new episodes, because everything's already been there in the first place. So laughing at failure. The reason it's important, I think, is pretty self-evident. I mean, we've all met people like that can make a mistake and laugh at it instead of throw the hammer, start to scream and kick over the trash can or whatever outburst they have. I think we've all been around that, and we've really enjoyed the presence and the energy of someone who can laugh at their mistake and just be like, what are you thinking? Ha ha ha. And I've never been one to be able to do that. I grew up with a dad who could not do it, and the only thing he could do that would pull him out of that spiral, because it would just tank the rest of the day, was if someone else screwed up. As soon as someone else screwed up, he would not feel so bad. He ultimately knew that other people weren't perfect too. And so when that facade of his, that he's the only failure in this world and everybody else is perfect, was shattered, he could let himself laugh, and he became a wonderful man to be around because he was enjoying the misery of someone else. And it's, I guess, better than staying in your funk. But I think as human beings, there's a way that we block ourselves from growth and becoming free to not need someone else to screw up, but we can laugh at our own mistakes, and we have to commit to that reality to achieve it. Because if you say, I hear what you're saying, Eric, and I want that, it's not going to happen right now. It might, and that's great. You should celebrate that. But for me, it's been at least 3 years of trying to make this work. And jiu-jitsu gives me about 2 times a week where I can really address this and really try this. And as much as I'm developing jiu-jitsu skills, I'm developing life skills as well. So I believe it's a 4-part process to, once failure hits, what you do to laugh at it and move through it instead of retreat and just avoid, because the natural, drive for us is to push aside the failure and double down on things we're good at, which is good. Like, I think that's 80% of what you do, but there's going to be this small percentage of failures. And when I say failures, I just mean it's not going well. You can't make it work. This could be making pancakes if you're me. This could be jiu-jitsu grip fighting if you're me. This could be, well, a whole lot of stuff in jiu-jitsu, but it could be losing your temper at your children, being pouty around your wife. This could be continuing to find stress in your life and not understanding the part you play in it, but just blaming everybody else. There's a ton of different things where this is going to come up. But the first thing that you have to do is step away. This is my pause, pivot, and pursue concept in a little bit more detail. So the pause is the step away. Whatever's happening right now, you're in a cascade of emotion, you're getting frustrated, you're getting angry. Why can't I make this work? Whatever it is that this thing is not working, step away from it. Take a breath, shake it off, physically move your body, laugh at yourself, grunt, whatever. And then you have to have a conversation with yourself, which is step 2. Laughing at yourself in a way that, you might not be able to, but if you look at the absurdity of it, you start having this conversation with yourself where either you're convincing yourself and telling yourself how, like, it's not that big a deal. In this case, for jiu-jitsu, for me, we were hand fighting. We're stand up, we're wrestling, and he gets my sleeve, and I end up, grabbing his collar and trying to break that grip with, rotating my wrist, swimming it in, and he's just stronger than me. His limbs are longer, and I'm not that good with this. And so I'm really in this position of, I looked at his hand on my grip and I just stared at it, knowing full well there's a way to deal with this, and knowing full well I have no clue what that is. And I smiled because I was literally staring at failure, knowing I couldn't do anything about it, but not just, I should be able to figure this out and I'm bad and everyone's going to think I'm crappy, and poo-hoo, boo-hoo. It was just funny to me because I know it's something I can learn. It's just I don't know what the answer is, so I'm just protecting myself so the takedown doesn't become bigger. So I just ended up saying, well, you know what, not going to win this one, so I'm just going to try and do my best to prevent the takedown and see what I can make work. And we did that for a minute and ended up being that was it. Like no one got taken down, but I avoided being taken down. And so I was like, well, there's a win. It's good to have a conversation with yourself about how you're not failing everywhere. There's just this one bit where you're failing, this one moment in time where it's not working out for you. But you have to bring in reality to that, saying, but there are other areas that I did succeed. Like in this case, I prevented myself from getting taken down. Couldn't escape, but I didn't get taken down. Then we went back at it, and this time I ended up getting into a sit-up guard, and I saw his hand come down to grip me, and I grabbed his hand, fed it underneath his leg, so now he's stuck, but he still has this grip on this sleeve, and I have the grip here on the other sleeve, and I couldn't break this grip now, and I'm just sitting here in guard. He's trying to choke me. He can't because I have his arm, so I'm in no danger, but I can't get this grip. And so we're just at the stalemate, and I know that if I can free my grip and grab his collar, I can sweep him, but I can't break free. So I'm failing, but I'm laughing because I'm like, okay, I'm safe here and nothing bad's going to happen. And what I can do is just try to get through this situation in slow and measured steps. And so I'm scooting, changing my position, getting the angle I need, pushing his leg with my foot, trying to get him off balance so I can dump him one way without the sweep that I know. And then I ended up getting it at the last 5 seconds. I ended up dumping him forward. He has to lose that grip, and now I'm free to take his back. And there was a powerful lesson in that of saying that I was faced with failure. We get faced with failure. Sometimes that failure has a way through. It's just not as pretty as we had planned it to be. We have to get to a point through stepping away, shaking it off, pausing, making a pivot, having that conversation and finding a way through. And sometimes that way through is the third step. And that is accepting that the failure is real, that there's nothing you can do about it in this moment, but there is another way forward. To continue to beat our heads against a wall where we are failing over and over again and we're falling behind and we're getting more mad at ourselves because every moment that I fall behind, I get more vicious to myself. In reality, I can step to the side and pass this way. I can go this direction and make some kind of progress. I can finish what I'm doing. And then at the end of that, if it wasn't as perfect as I wanted it to be, I can go back and learn if that's what I need to do. And that's the fourth step is go and learn. Study. What was the deficiency? Whether it's jiu-jitsu or whether it's in life or in work or in relationship, what was the deficiency? Okay, for me, it was really simple because I need to learn how to grip fight. I need to learn how to break grips. And honestly, I've avoided it because it's just, for some reason, always been a struggle for me. And why would I want to go face my struggles? Why wouldn't? We don't want to. We just want to go to our strengths. But my strengths are limited. Even if they're great, my strengths will improve if I face my deficiencies. Those failures are calling my attention to areas of growth. They don't give me a timeline. They don't make me a promise or a guarantee that I will ever nail it, but I can get better at it. And that's a worthwhile endeavor because the more we can get better at our chosen field, our chosen task, the more effective we can become, the more wins we can stack, and the smaller the failure stack will become. We're always going to have it. We're always going to have limitations because we have to have them because growth is a lifelong need of the spirit. And if we don't have failure, if we don't have struggle, there is zero call to growth. We're just living our life. And that sounds great, but that's not the point of being here on earth. Our point of earth is we're wired for conflict. We're wired to grapple with those failures, with those pains, with those discomforts, because those discomforts are the signals for growth. This growth allows us to serve. So this failure window that we run into, this wall, is the signal for growth. It's the opportunity for us to grow, learn something so we can serve. This is the cycle of things, and it's a 4-step process. I can't get this grip. Okay, after the end of this, I'm going to step away, shake it off, or I'm going to laugh at it right away, which I did, and that's the goal, is to see the failure and laugh at it. And hopefully you can find some absurdity in your expectation that you were just going to nail this, that you stepped onto the mat and learned the technique 1 minute ago, and you were going to be the best in the whole room at it, even if those people have been training this technique for 3 years. That expectation sets you up for failure because the discomfort and the anger comes from unmet expectations in that case. Well, now you got to step away and be like, what was I thinking? What in my right mind did I think I was going to be better than everyone on a technique I've never done and they've been training? You can laugh at that eventually because you have to take ownership of the fallacy you've built in your own mind. The hope is good, but when we marry ourselves to hope that's unrealistic, it's bad. It's almost a self-damning sentence, and it guarantees that we will not grow, and that's one of the reasons we unconsciously do it. So we shake it off, we smile, and we move forward. We re-enter the environment accepting that we're not going to nail it, and if we do, that's great. Chances are we won't, but we're still going to continue to go. And we get help. We ask questions. We know where we're weak, so we go and get that help. And after it's all said and done, if we got through it somehow in a different technique or a different avenue, we're still going to come back to that weakness and we're going to study. We're going to ask questions, and we're going to learn and then practice it again. Because failures become failures only when we fully step off the mats and never come back. It's only when we leave the range and never shoot another arrow that we guarantee we never hit the target. So there's a loose interpretation of the word failure. I don't like the word because you failed in this situation because you didn't meet the goal. And I don't want to conflate that with failure. And that's, I'm still thinking about what verbiage is better to use there, because you're not a failure unless you completely quit and not choosing to in an empowered way. I've played chess. I'm terrible at it. I failed. I'm a failure in chess, but I don't feel bad about it because I just don't like the game. I like the game. I just don't have it in me to the desire to learn the game and get better at the game. It's cool if you have that, but I don't. You know what I mean? So that's not a failure. No, it's just not for me. So I'm not a failure in chess, but technically I am because I failed like every match that I ever played. And I was always mad because I didn't want to get better. I just wanted to be good. And if you ever find yourself in that situation, in that reflection, that's a good thing for you to recognize too, that it's not always something calling you to say, you need to get better at this. Everything you do, you have to be the best. That's a different drive. If you find yourself not wanting to do these things to get better at the thing, really asking yourself that self-inventory of, do I really just not care about this sport? And if that's the case, you have to redefine your connection to it. If it's just an exercise thing for you, you might step away and go do something else that's more or less fun versus about skill acquisition and challenging. And you can find challenge everywhere. Okay, even weightlifting is very challenging, but it's not complex in the way that a combat sport is. So sometimes this failure process will tell us that we're doing it the wrong way, we're focusing on the wrong things, or we're in the wrong sport. These are all valid things, but what you do after that process is what defines success versus failure. Are you running away from something because it's too hard and you don't like the way it makes you feel, or are you stepping away from something because it's just not for you? And you'll notice in yourself there's a different level of peace when it's just not for me, versus running away from something because it's hard or uncomfortable. You'll find yourself blaming other people for why you couldn't succeed, talking smack about the sport, saying why no one should do it. And you'll try to rationalize through a lot of intensity, whether it's expressed outward or inward in your inner monologue, why it's not your fault that it didn't work out. It's nobody's fault. If it's truly something you shouldn't do, it's just you chose to walk away from it. No harm, no foul. Hey, good luck. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I have a lot of respect for chess players. It's just not for me. You know what I mean? So this is the process. And I find the more we can look at these things, the more difficult things in our lives, and understand the emotional charge behind it and what that language is and what we're supposed to do with it, while accepting we're going to screw it up again and again and again. But eventually our vision changes. The more we spar with these feelings, the more our brain becomes aware of the stimulus and starts to build those neural pathways so we can make different choices in this cerebral brain decision tree. Then we can choose better. We can see things better, and it becomes unconscious. We don't think about it at a certain point. I was watching a video on grip fighting because I'm studying it. I'm applying my own lesson and talking about these drills and how you do this and that. And you do it so much that eventually you don't think about it. So this one practitioner is passing a guard and he keeps fighting grips, but he says, I'm looking for windows. I'm just naturally doing the hand fighting because he's a black belt. He's done it for so long that eventually as a white belt, I won't maybe get there, but the eventuality is you will get to the point where it is unconscious, just like me driving a car. I don't think about it hardly at all. When I was 16, I thought about it a lot. I'm a white belt, so I'm thinking about where my hands are a lot and the frustration, but eventually some of those things become unconscious and I can't wait for that. I'm excited for that and I'm dedicated to that. So we got to figure out how you can move your body where you have that dedication, because it's vital that we do so in an arena that allows us to deal with our shortcomings, our failures, but still calls us to pause, pivot, and pursue. It causes us to step away, shake it off, to find the absurdity and realize like my expectations of myself are way too high, than to ask for help or find and pivot to a different way around the situation, so that we can afterwards go and bring learning and skill acquisition through help, through conversation, through internet searches, through whatever means that you get your information from, talking with your coach. We can learn and then we can go reapply. We'll have plenty of opportunities to learn as long as we stay in the arena. So until next time, journey well, my friends.